The first most important thing is that if we consider the second condition actually means that if something is stated by the theory, then it is true. This is what practically we have here. And if the negation is stated, then the opposite is the case. So briefly and roughly, one can say that this condition here, and then this is true for all lambdas, this condition here actually means that all predictions of the theory corresponds to the facts of the world. Yeah. And of course, if a theory is such that everything predicted by the theory is correct, it means that this theory is a true, faithful theory of its subject matter. Okay? So, this second condition is actually a necessary and sufficient condition of, for the theory to be true. Okay? But this condition is, of course, a part and parcel of the definition of semantics. So we can say that there is meaning only if this condition is satisfied. But this condition is simply means, not means, but actually implies that the theory is true. So this means that the two conceptions, meaning and truth, are completely intertwined. Because, of course, the opposite is also true. I am not able to say that something is true without meaning. Yeah, how a sentence can be true if there is no meaning of the sentence. So, but more importantly, there is no meaning without truth. Okay? This very much reminds us to the verificationist theory of meaning and truth conditional theory of meaning and this kind of things. But not in that naive sense as it was understood in the logical empiricist school and so on and so forth. But in a more sophisticated sense. And this more sophisticatedness consists in the following. We have here a family of sentences. That means we have a huge family of sentences. Here we have, again, assumingly, a huge family of state of affairs in the world. And this requirement says that for this complete family, for this whole paired elements of the two large families, must be true that what is required here. And the third thing which is read here, that here we in general, we can have this must be a theorem, but to be a theorem is not an isolated property of this single well-formed formula of this sentence, if you want. But to be a theorem, it is a It is the fact that it is a theorem, it is a fact of the whole axiomatic system. I don't know, a huge number of axioms can be involved in the fact that this is a theorem. Okay? Always a finite number of axioms are involved, as we know from the compactness theorem in logic, but an arbitrarily large but finite part of the axiomatic system. Okay, so all this means that semantics is an essentially a holistic conception. Meaning cannot be assigned to one single isolated well-formed formula referring to some isolated state of affairs in the world. You know, that was a big problem actually, and mistake in the verification theory of meaning. They themselves, I don't know, Neurath, Carnap, Reichenbach had huge debates about that how to understand that I have a sentence and it has a direct reference to the observable, verifiable reality. And Quine in the two dogmas, and especially in the epistemology naturalized, for instance, criticized this view and called and pointed out that this is not the case, that there is a one-to-one correspondence between some isolated, you know, they try to figure out that which are those fundamental statements or sentences who have such an intimate relationship with the external world, and they had around different troubles. And Quine pointed out that no, the truth is that none of these sentences can have such a reference, direct, immediate reference to the world in them in itself. Only, as Quine said, the whole context, if not the complete language, may have such a reference. So, as he wrote, they are endowed with the meaning as a corporate body. The statements of a theory can be compared with reality, can stand. They stand in front of the judge or the court, or how he expresses, I don't remember, as a corporate body, you know. And okay, so this is what we call semantic holism. Okay, so this is semantic holism. And of course, due to the fact that meaning and truth are completely intertwined, not only meaning, but truth is a holistic conception, essentially holistic. There is no truth or falsity of one isolated statement. Only the complete, very briefly saying, only the complete theory can be true or false, and only the complete theory can carry meaning and can have reference to the world and so on. Okay? So both meaning and truth are holistic conceptions in this sense. So this is the second observation. Very important one. Now, okay, here is the next observation. What is denoted here by small a lambda, this is a physical fact. I mean, sorry, state of affairs in the physical world. Maybe I will call it fact, just disregarding my previous remark. Okay. All right. Now, that's okay. We are not surprised. Yes, that was originally our intention. But now we have to take into account, here I turn on, so to say, my physical formalist approach to in philosophy of mathematics, okay? So according to my physical formalist understanding of mathematics, of formal systems and so on, sigma entails capital A lambda. This is a fact of the physically existing formal system. Okay? So this one here, as we discussed it earlier, is a physical fact again. If you want a state of affairs in the physical world. Okay, so this is a physical fact again. So what you know, this condition B actually says is that there is, since we are requiring this for all lambda, it means that there is, so this condition expresses a certain kind of regularity between this kind of physical facts and this kind of physical facts. So, you know, if I have something, oh, I'm sorry, I wanted to use the white word. Yeah. So I don't know. Here is something about this is U, and this is, I don't know. Let me denote the formal system as a computer. Okay, for instance. So the fact that sigma entails, I don't know, something like this. This is a fact of the physically existing formal system. Small a lambda is a fact here in this part of the physical reality. And this condition B here expresses a certain regularity between the facts of two parts of the world. The facts here and the facts here. In other words, we have a correlation here, a correlation between state of affairs in you and the state of affairs in the computer, if you want, in the formal system. Okay. All right, but if we combine this observation that we have here a correlation between physical events, physical state of affairs, physical facts, combining this observation with the principle of common cause of the Reichenbach's principle of common cause. Yeah. Okay. Nice. That's what I wanted to draw on the whiteboard. So we have here this realm perhaps observable physical facts, something like this, and we have the formal system here, and then this condition requires a correlation between the two. Now, so Reichenbach's principle of common cause, I don't know whether you have heard about it. So this is a principle Reichenbach formulated it first time, and I don't want to go into the details, but the more general sense, in a more general form, it says that there is no correlation without a causal background, without a causal explanation. So whenever we observe correlation in the physical reality between different events, you know, in the classroom in 221 at the department, you know, we have two lamps on the ceiling, yeah? And we can observe that there is a correlation. When one of them is lighting, then the other one is lighting too, and so on and so forth. So there is a very strong, very rarely sometimes it happens that this one is lighting the other when something is broken, yeah? But most of the cases there is an almost maximal correlation between the behavior of the two lamps. And the principle says that we are not, whenever we observe in the physical reality such a correlation, then after a little research, we can recognize or we can discover a causal mechanism in the world, a causal process in the world, which produces this correlation, which explains why the two things are correlated. In this case of the two lamps, of course, the explanation is very, there is a common switch on the wall, and if the switch is on, then and concerning the wirings in the wall and so on and so forth, going to the two lamps, and we can understand how electric current is flowing in the wires and so on and so forth, and we can see that what is that causal physical process which produces that the two lamps are preferred to behave similarly, okay, identically. Okay, and this is just an example, and it turns out that while I don't want to even mention some very, very problematic and delicate situations in quantum mechanics where we have problem with this, but and still it is a hotly discussed issue. But the principle at least says that correlations must have a causal explanation. More precisely, this causal explanation means that there must exist in the physical reality a causal process, and of course this causal process must be something like this, that here in the common, these are just some symbolic something, light cones, backward light cones of in space-time of these two things here, and of course these common causal path. This is a common causal path. So I mean, it's not important, but you can imagine that this is some events, some phenomena, and this is these are here some phenomena, and these phenomena were caused by some prior other phenomena or events or things here too. And of course, if I have a correlation, then it must be the case that there exists something available in the common causal past for both here, because there must be something here in the common causal past having some causal influence of the things going on here and here. So, briefly, there must exist an underlying background causal process in physical reality that explains, that more precisely, that produces this correlation, yeah, responsible for that this correlation comes about. Okay. All right. So that means the following: there is no semantics. This condition B cannot be satisfied without the existence of a common causal, without a causal process in the physical reality producing the correlation required here. In other words, there cannot exist semantics without such an underlying causal process in the physical reality. Okay? But of course, this is also needed for truth. So there is no truth, there is no physical theory, there is no knowledge of the world without an underlying causal process in the physical reality producing this correlation here. Okay? So the conclusion is that there is no knowledge of the physical world. Even more, there is no simply meaningful talk, thought, all kind of, propositional propositional attitude or something like that, without a certain causal process in the physical reality producing this correlation we require here. All right? Now, with a little reflection, we can figure out that this underlying physical process going on here in the common causal past and producing the correlation that the behavior of the computer, of the physicist, is very much correlated with the behavior of the physical reality observable, for instance, here in the laboratory, is nothing but what we normally call learning from experience. Yeah? We are experiencing the world and being in interaction with the world to be described, and being in interaction with the formal system. We are tuning the program, for instance, here. We are changing the things here, and so on and so forth. It doesn't matter. It can be it's a good question to analyze that how this learning process actually is going on, and so on and so forth. That's a separate issue, and important issue, by the way. But now only the final result is important, that finally there is such a correlated situation that there is a formal system and the facts of the formal system correlate with the facts of the external world to be described. But this correlation was caused by or produced by a theory creation process, so to say, causal process, which is nothing but learning from experience. Now, what does it mean? Okay, what does it mean? You know, this is an extremely strong argument for empiricism. You must understand that at the beginning, I didn't assume anything about empiricism. I didn't claim, I didn't express as a kind of doctrine that only experience can teach us, or the only source of knowledge of the world is experience or something like that. I only assumed at the beginning, as a very general philosophical or metaphysical pre-assumption or framework, it was physicalism. And from physicalism, actually, we could derive the physical formalism, and from physical formalism, through the analysis of scientific theories, we arrived at the conclusion that all sources, the only source of knowledge of the world is experience. Okay, so this means that no knowledge of the physical world is possible without experience. And this is not enough, because by the same token, we must say that no meaningful talk about the physical world is possible without experience. Okay? And as I told, not only talk, but thought and belief, and I don't know, whatever you would like to mean here. In other words, you know, taking into account that that even the logical and mathematical facts, that is the so-called, traditionally so-called truths of reasoning, are a posteriori things, yeah, coming from the experience, restricted or experience about the formal system as a physically existing formal system as a physical object. So all this means together that there is no a priori meaning and there is no a priori truth at all, neither in the sense of truth of reasoning, nor in the sense of truth of facts. Yeah. Okay. Consequently, there are no a priori conceptions in terms of which we grasp the physical reality. I'm sorry to say, Jansen, that there are no analytic truths. So I don't know what analytic philosophy or metaphysics is dealing with, but yeah. So okay, so you know, it is not true that we have some a priori scheme of conceptions in terms of which we grasp the physical world, reality, experience the physical reality. So my claim is that there is no such a conceptual scheme, you know, because nothing is conceptual here. We have only the meaningless. Okay, yeah, I would like to say a few words about this constitutive a priori stuff we were talking about already, but I would like to return to it for a short while. So there is no an a priori conceptual scheme, because you know what we have is we have the formal system. This is, you know, nothing is conceptual in it. You know, a meaningless mark is not a concept. And once the concept is something which, even if it is meant in a very abstract sense, but we mean that it expresses something of the world, yeah, even if not has a concrete reference to a particular something, but expresses something from the world, you know. But a meaningless sign does not express anything about the world. And once this meaningless sign is equipped, endowed with meaning, then immediately it will have some reference. The sentences of the formal system will have meaning, and at the same time will be true or false. But according to the previous claims, this truth and falsity is not a priori truth or falsity, but an a posteriori one. And the truth of, analytic truth, the truth in what, so if the sentence has meaning, then it becomes immediately. So you cannot say that it is an analytic truth in the traditional sense of the word analytic, because it is a meaningless sentence, a meaningless linguistic object, until the whole stuff is equipped with semantics. And once we have a semantics, the sentence becomes true or false, but not in an analytic sense, but in an a posteriori sense. Okay? Because there is no semantics without this correlation, and there is no semantics without experiencing the world, and so on and so forth. Okay? And this means that no armchair metaphysics is possible, actually, because there are two possibilities. We have just utterances or just text or string of letters, you know, or a string of marks without any meaning or reference to the world. Or if we have a meaningful talk about the world, then just to be meaningful already requires just this meaning already must be established by experiencing the world. This doesn't mean that I deny the role of metaphysical claims or analysis of the things and so forth, but I just consider it as a particular attitude within or knowledge of the world, which is fundamentally empirical. Okay, so this is a kind of continuity between science and philosophy, science, physics and metaphysics, and so on and so forth. So, of course, what we traditionally call metaphysical claims or analysis, and so on and so forth, it is the same thing as science. It is very much based on our knowledge, empirically established knowledge of the world. We are just dealing or considering some, in some sense, very general or certain questions of causality or delicate questions about causation are not investigated by physicists because of some reasons, but investigated by philosophers or metaphysicians, if you want. And this is just sharing the task, but it doesn't mean that when within the title or under the title metaphysics, we are discussing or thinking or analyzing the causation, then we do something essentially different from what the physicists try to do in understanding of causation or interaction of physical objects or something like that. Okay, I think it is even 8:05. I'm sorry for this.
No worries, it was a very interesting.
No worries. Yeah, absolutely. It was. And it's interesting. There is so much that I feel like I would want to object to, but I see like no way to object to it. So it's kind of mind twisting in a way.
Particularly after trying to make a few objections myself. I quickly realized which funnel they were all going into.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, we proceed today so much. Maybe I can finish all these things next week, and we will have one last class, and we can we can use this last class for your objections, and you can raise problems, questions, objections, whatever, and I try to fight all the objections.
Perfect.
Sounds nice, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So thank you for your attention, and then see you next time. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
İyi olsun László. Yavaş gayet.